Sawadee krab. Hi, everyone. I am here with Patima, and I had the honor to come here to your office.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself? She's Thai American, by the way. So I thought it'd be wonderful to meet Thai Americans who are in different fields and careers in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank you for being
very,
here.
really, really happy to be able to welcome you to our office. So I'm Patima Komolamit, and I'm with Center for the Pacification Family. And I am actually newly in my position of executive director. This is going to be my third week. So very, very, very excited. And it's been an amazing journey. And I've been with the organization for about 16 years, working in different forms of direct service. And we are located right in the heart of Koreatown, which is where our community center is. And it is a hot day today, so
Yes, it
it's very
is.
reflective of
It's it,
Thailand.
it's hot in so many ways. I mean, just the color that you're wearing today, and it's hot topics that we're talking about because there are topics that are relevant. So you've been here for 16 years. The organization has been around for 40 years,
Yes.
and your journey. That's what I really want to ask you about because what what brought you to this journey to this career?
So I would say that when I was a teenager, I was growing up in Paramount. So it's kind of a suburb area between Compton and Long Beach. And we were oftentimes the only Asian family in that area. And growing up in a predominantly Hispanic and African American neighborhoods, I always kind of felt a little bit out of place. And within my family, we grew up in America and really tried to assimilate as much as possible. But growing up, you do see a lot of different unhealthy dynamics within just my friendships and just also within sometimes some family dynamics too. And I really wanted to be able to connect with young girls, especially since I was a young girl and I saw a lot of teen pregnancy when I was growing up in high school. And I also saw a lot of unhealthy relationships in my high school. And sometimes when I would try to intervene, it was not always the best. And because I wasn't really seasoned in it, I didn't understand a lot of the dynamics and I didn't even know about necessarily domestic violence. So when I was 18, I actually took a training at a local domestic violence center. And it was a 40-hour training and it completely changed my life, like completely changed my perspective on relationships, made me question my own relationships, like what I am bringing to the table and what people were bringing to me too, and how I was relating to just the stereotypes of gendered norms, what men were supposed to do, what women were supposed to do. And I started looking at my own culture and I started looking at my own kind of traditional kind of Thai values and seeing that there is a lot of patriarchy involved in Thai culture. There's a lot of beautiful, wonderful things as well, but seeing that and really having me question like, okay, how can we both empower women and men who are in relationships with each other, in family dynamics, and try to make, I know it sounds a little cheesy, but try to make the world really a better, safer, more loving place. And ultimately, that's how I started my journey.
Mhm. It sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. That's what needs to be done. To put it in context, you're the first Thai American executive director of this 40-year nonprofit organization. And this organization, the role is to prevent domestic sexual domestic violence. Am I correct?
Yes. So Center for the Pacification Family, actually, we are going to be 45.
45.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
And actually that is the same. So each year, so I'm also going to be 45. So it's kind of like
It
serendipitous.
was born at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was born in
you
1978, and I was born 1978. So each year that CPAP gets a little bit older, wiser, stronger, I also get older,
exactly.
wiser, stronger. And so that's been the beautiful kind of journey for me. So Center for the Pacification Family started in 1978. We are so fortunate to be able to be here for so long and be able to provide really critical services for Asian survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. So we were the first multilingual hotline in the nation that offered different languages for survivors who would call us, and they would want to talk to somebody who spoke Mandarin, spoke Cantonese, spoke Thai, spoke Vietnamese, and we had these robust and amazing, fierce volunteers and advocates that work with us throughout the years. And we started out as a hotline. And then from there, from the hotline, we started the emergency shelter program. And that was one of the first emergency shelters for Asian Pacific Islander survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And actually, it still is one of the only emergency shelters in and around LA, Orange County, San Diego County that exist, and that primarily serves Asian survivors, and also provides language, like multiple different languages, and also cultural competence services. And we also have 2 transitional shelter programs. And those transitional shelter programs really help our survivors gain more footing. They're able to really start the process of rebuilding and healing their lives, because typically when they come into the emergency shelter, they oftentimes have nothing, just the clothes on their back. And with their children too, when they're coming in, it is such an incredibly emotional, turbulent time. Leaving is so scary, and not knowing where you're going to go, where you're going to lay your head at night, or how your kids are going to sleep, how they're going to fare, is a really terrifying reality. And so when they come into our shelters, I really try to make it as welcoming and as loving and also as culturally sensitive as possible. And so that's what CPAF really specializes in. And that's what we've been able to do with a lot of community support and a lot of support from just, other organizations that, we work with, as far as legal organizations and then other community-based resources.
That's a lot of intricacies that you have to provide. And especially having that safe space,
Mm-hmm.
because the safe space is so important. Because when you're dealing with domestic abuse, they don't know what a safe space is,
Right.
to allow them to be able to kind of, like what you said, start the process, because it's really about a process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, like, when you're looking at multiculturalism and cultural values, usually the safe space is the family, right?
Mm,
So that's where you go to be safe. That's where you go to be comfortable. But when that space is no longer safe, and when you don't know what to do, when that space puts you or your kids in danger, there is such a wave of just uncertainty and fear that transpires with that. And so it is important to really have this space, but it's important for us to reach out to the community to be able to go into, for example, like Thai temples, and be able to talk to the community about our services, and have it not be such a taboo, subject, because it is still a very taboo subject. I think to this day, I still get inquiries from people in the community or people that I meet, and then they ask me what I do for a living, and they're like, "Oh, it happens to Asians? Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah,
yes, it's just,
sure."
we don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't
It's
talk
like,
about it.
because you're right, because you have the cultural element, and like each culture deals with it differently, and a lot
Yes.
of the Asian cultures deal with it with keeping it hush hush, or not talking about, because it's a lot of face, it's a
Hmm.
lot of, like, how you present your family, to your friends, to your, your relatives, and all these things get kind of swept under the carpet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a lot of shame. People,
Mm.
they have a lot of shame for even having to disclose. They feel embarrassed. They feel that this is something that they should be handling by themselves, and that this should not be something that they have other people know about, because they don't want to have, questions. And they also sometimes they also think that it's normal
Mm,
because it's
yeah,
intergenerational, and perhaps they have also grown up with this. And so in their childhood lives, they've grown up with it, and
right.
within their parents, and maybe they've seen their grandparents as well. And so when you're looking at intergenerational violence, it is accepted because that might be the only thing that they've ever known.
It's like becomes the norm.
It does. It
Yeah,
becomes the
and
norm.
you need to kind of unravel that to go, that's not the norm. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's really important to, but there's also various generations where you're not going to make an impact if you don't make the connection.
Mm,
So what we try to do is we really try to connect with people by really focusing on, in the same time of addressing violence, we also have to address what is going to be a healthy relationship, what's going to be a healthy dynamic, what is it going to take for us to have a healthy community of people who are living together, loving together, working together, and being able to sustain that. It takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of openness too, to kind of challenge the paradigms of power and control, and also gendered norms and misogyny and patriarchy and all these kind of terms that we
that comes
learn.
with the
Yeah,
yeah.
that comes with the
But
construct.
so have you seen progress in the 45 years?
Yes, yes, I
Mm,
have seen progress. I would say that as somebody who's been in the field for so long, with social media just being so incredibly pervasive and everywhere, it feels like it's happening more, but it's only because we actually we have more outlets for people to communicate. We
mm,
have more, you know, we have more apps, we have more social media platforms, so people are able to kind of be more vulnerable and also share their stories in ways that we weren't able to do before. So I feel that there has been progress. I mean, we definitely have a lot more to do, but as far as like legislation goes, as far as being able to even work with immigrant survivors who also may have come to this country under the hopes of a new life, a new marriage, a new love, then being put in a place of total vulnerability, isolation, not knowing kind of the government, not knowing anyone here, it's really terrifying. So having like legislation like the Violence Against Women Act, which was just reauthorized
mm,
by this current administration, has been an amazing thing, because women are still are victims of violence, who come to this country, who are wanting to make this new positive life for themselves and their children. When something happens to where their partners start to hurt them or abuse them in multiple different horrific ways, they're able to at least have a way to be able to be here legally. And it's a very convoluted
mm.
process, but there is a way, there is a mechanism, and that's really what we want. We want as many resources as possible for survivors, because that's what it takes. You can't just have one organization doing this work, right? We have to be able to mobilize together.
Exactly. I think not like what you said, not one organization can make the changes, but it's everything. It's
Mhm.
like many organizations coming together. It's the government, it's people being aware, and and it's good. I think that's the silver lining of the social media, is if it's used in the right way,
Mhm.
it can actually get stories out to help others out there as well.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
want to know about, because we're Thai, I want to
Yes.
know, growing up and where you are now, what elements of being Thai has shaped who you are today?
Oh my goodness. It's like so many different elements. Like I feel so blessed to have grown up, in a Thai household. But my family dynamic was very unique. Like my parents, they didn't meet in Thailand, they actually met here.
Oh,
So my father was this Thai hippie who actually went to Hollywood High, and was, just really trying to be very American, wanted to assimilate as much as possible. And then my mom came here when she was a bit older, and she really just kind of got into the whole immigrant, like just being able to hit the ground running. She worked in factories. She like did everything she could to kind of make ends meet. And so when they met, it was almost like the convergence of two different realities. Somebody who kind of was able to settle in a little bit more comfortably, like my
mm,
dad, and then my mom, who really had to just take any job that she could and be able to survive. And so when they both met, and then they had like, their family and their friends, and it was kind of all in like the late 70s. So it was like hippies, and it was just a very unique time. And so my mom was somewhat traditional as well, but being able to kind of be together and start the family, and grow up Buddhist as well. Like, my father wasn't very religious, but
mhm.
my mother is. And so her faith and her wanting to just make sure that she is a good person and she does well and she treats others well was something that was fundamental in my family. So being able to be Thai, grow up with Thai food, learn how to also be just gracious, and also, learn elements of Buddhism and elements of our culture. And I don't think it really hit me until I went back to Thailand. I went back to Thailand when I was 8. And so when I went back to Thailand, I was like, wow, I'm surrounded by all Thai people, because I'm not used to that. When I was growing up, I was the only. I remember when I was in junior high, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, mostly Hispanic and Latinos and African American, and maybe some Samoans every once in a while. But I was the only Thai person. And I remember there was one new Thai girl that came to the school, and she was in a totally different grade. And the principal called me. They called me and they said, Patima, you have to come and help, because we don't know if she understands a lot of English.
Mm.
And I didn't like speak a lot of Thai. And so, but I did watch some Lakan with my grandma. So I was able to communicate a little bit, and we became friends after that. But that just shows like how rare it was to be Thai,
Yeah.
and then to also have people not understand, like, oh, so you're from Taiwan. Oh, you're from Japan. Oh, what do you speak? Is Thai even a country? It's like, oh yeah, Thailand's a country. We have our own language. We don't speak Mandarin. We don't speak Vietnamese. We speak Thai. So I think that it's funny, because I was born and raised, in Paramount, and then growing up in American culture, when you're amongst other people who are non-Asian, you kind of become the ambassador of your motherland
Yeah.
country, without even, I had never even been there until I was 8. So I was like representing for this country that people just identified me at, because they saw the way that I looked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were mentioning and saying how rare Thai people were, and that's going to change. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yes,
We're not so rare anymore. We're in
exactly.
different places. You just can't find us, and I'm going to bring us out.
Good. I'm
All
glad with that.
right.
I am
All right.
awesome. That's great.
So give me a word or a phrase that gets you going.
A word or a phrase. I'd say, um, that that we that we're stronger. We're stronger together. That's for me, that's the thing that allows me to keep going. That we have so many people who are in pain and who need help and who are lost. Um, I tell you, like, the one thing that I love many things about our organization. But when I first started as a family advocate, like in 2007, I remember bringing in a family in a taxi. And they came out, and it was a Vietnamese mother and a little boy, and they were both crying when they came out of the cab, because they didn't know what to expect, and they only had like a little backpack. And I remember when they walked through our doors, and they saw like numpla, like the fish sauce, and they saw some of the chili, and they saw the rice cooker, and they saw these things, and they're like, okay, like it immediately made them feel like they were among people who understood them. And that's the cultural component. It's not just about language, it's about being able to see people for who they are. It's about being able to give people space and give people safety and let them know like what they deserve, and that what they've been through is not something that, unfortunately, is not isolated. Violence is in every culture. And seeing that and giving them the space to heal and learn together is just the most amazing thing. Like if you go to our shelters and you see the women like eating together, you'll see Chinese women, Vietnamese women, some Latina women, some African American women, and they're all talking, but I have no idea how they understand each other. It's all different languages, but then they communicate by food and just, by having that synergy together. And that's really what's important. So I don't think it's one word. I think it's just more of a feeling, like a
Yeah.
feeling of wanting to make sure that people feel like they deserve more, they deserve better, they deserve peace.
It's like seeing the value in one another.
Yes.
That there is value.
Yes.
And I think that's what like with what you do, that that value gets broken down. And when you give them that inclinage that there's value in you, then it starts to change. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that there's, and also for children, right? So generations of children have seen adults do harm to each other and have also witnessed and even had harm be done to them. So allowing for kids to have an opportunity to see that it could be different and that there could be safety in communication, that there could be trust, that they could communicate their feelings. You know, in a lot of times, in even in our culture, in Thai culture, children are not necessarily seen as having children's rights. You know, it's more, it's a hierarchy. Sometimes it's a hierarchy too, where you have to, I remember you going to Thailand and I would walk straight all the time, no matter who was around. And my mom was like, no, you have to bow each time you go into some,
Yeah.
you know, someone's that's older. And even then it was, I understand it was about respect and culture, but there's also a level of suppression that happens
Yes.
too, you
There's
know?
the subordinating yourself in the
Yes.
process, which we're going to keep that for our next conversation, which is we can actually go for hours with that one. Yeah.
Yes, but you know that the beautiful thing about being in LA is that we have an amazing Thai community. You know, we have great people and activists that are working in all different kinds of sectors who are making strides and who are challenging the system and who are also advocating for Thai people to come out. We've got Thai chefs, we've got restaurants, we've got people who are in legal work, we've got people who are in social work. So it's really understanding that you don't have to be one way or one Thai way. Thai people can be anything. And I never imagined actually that I was going to be an executive director. Actually, I did imagine I'd be executive director, but I thought I'd do it in Thailand. I thought I would like open the first shelter and like do these things. And I'm not saying that I won't. But for me, being a woman, a Thai woman, growing up here and being in my 40s and now being in this new chapter with this amazing organization and other staff who really dedicate their time, and then meeting you and then having our amazing board members who have supported us, I think it really shows that we're invested in change and we are committed to it, and we're not going to bow down. We're going to keep going and we're going to involve everyone because it does take everyone to be able to do this.
Well, it shows like when you represent so many different things for yourself as a woman, one, as an Asian woman, two, as a Thai American, three, and
Yeah,
just as a human being.
absolutely.
Yeah, all together. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have many more conversations in the
Yes.
future, I'm sure. ขอบคุณครั
ไม่เป็น
บ
ไรค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you guys.
Bye.